Hey dudes and chicks and neither of those who don't apply to you, welcome to Break for Last Time. My name is Katie. Today, I am going to be ranking my green palettes and also my greenish palettes. And I'll kind of explain more about that when I get into the video. So if you guys are interested in seeing what I think are the best, what my best green palette is, then just hang out. Yes, I did think I missed the boat on it. Yes, my subscribers did tell me to do this video anyways. So here we are. Okay, as you guys know, so what I was going to say is you guys know that green is not my favorite color to wear, but that isn't actually true. Green is actually, when I do green looks, it is actually the most beautiful my eyes ever look is when I use green. And I've talked about this to several of my subs in the comments, and I don't know what it is about green that makes my eyes shine so much. I've had people tell me that it was like these reflective, like oceanic colors, like green and blue, that make my eyes like just sparkle, like literally, I don't know what they literally, it makes them sparkle like stars. And so it's supposed to be the other way around, where orange is supposed to make my blue eyes shine, but that just isn't the case. And so the truth for me is that green is actually one of the most beautiful colors that I wear. It makes my eyes look the most beautiful of any other colors. It's just not my favorite color to wear just because it's not my favorite color. And so I don't have that many green palettes. And so when I was kind of doing this, there was palettes that I wanted to include that are obvious choices to include into a ranking for a green palette. For example, the Gemini palette. But the Gemini palette isn't a green palette. It's a brown palette with some green. It's actually, I'm pretty sure it's got more, yeah, it's got 6 colors that are not green, and then 4 colors that are green. And this color right here, Mochi, is questionable, like it's barely green. And so I have a lot of palettes that are greenish, and so I didn't really know how to do that. So basically I ranked my green palettes and then I ranked my greenish palettes. And so I have like several palettes here, but also I feel like it's a pretty good mood to run into. Spring is like green and greenish. So I'm just gonna say ranking my green palettes in the beginning, and I know I missed it because it was St. Patrick's Day, but I don't really give a fuck. Sorry I'm late. My name is Katie. Welcome to my channel. The bottom of my list, I have only 6 green palettes, and one of them is a palette that I decluttered. And actually I have a couple of my palettes that I decluttered in here, and then I kind of took back because I realized I was going to need them for other reasons besides just using them, or some of them I did need to use them, and I was like, what the fuck was I thinking decluttering that? So anyways, at my number 6 position is the Earthy palette, and the reason why I even got this back, the color story looks like this. I literally do not like this palette at all. And I just don't like it. I don't like red and green palettes. That's not a thing for me. Also, I feel like it's pretty repetitive compared to the other things that I have. The reason why I pulled it back out is because somebody asked me how the Earthy palette compares to the Ireland palette, the new Ireland Wild Atlantic Way palette by Nomad. And I just want to clarify right now for that person who asked me, I'm sorry, I don't remember who you are, but for that person who asked me, I do not think that this palette compares at all to the Wild Atlantic Way. I don't think that this is like at all a dupe. I honestly don't even know if there's any, I don't know. I know it sounds so stupid, but when I look at this palette, I see nothing. Like I see nothing. I don't know. I just don't see anything when I look at this palette. So that might not be the case for everybody, but if you really want to know like what my ultimate thoughts are, what is even remotely a dupe, is the Wilderness palette, which most of us don't have, or a lot of us don't have, or I don't fucking have. And so it's a regret that I'll have to live with for the rest of my life, but I don't have the Wilderness palette. And I think that if there was any color story that I think is closest to the Wild Atlantic Way palette, it would be that. In my 5th place is the Stack 'em Up palette by P. Louise. And the reason why this ranked so low is because it's honestly the only Stack 'em Up palette that I don't really, it's okay, but honestly, I'm not really into this like army green. It looks a little too neutral for me, and so often when I wear like dirty, dingy greens, it looks like I'm just wearing a brown look to me in my like, you know, the way that I do color on my eyes is like, this looks like a neutral look. And so often like grungy greens or like army greens look just a little boring on me, to me. They look a little neutral, and they are a little neutral. So I'm not wrong. Okay, then number 4 is my Money Shop palette by P. Louise. And honestly, this is another one where it's like, it's It's nice. It's nice. Like, I feel like I got this to kind of to fill the void of where the Blood Money palette by Jeffree Star would have went. There's a spot in my heart where Jeffree Star Cosmetics goes, and like it's just an empty hole that can never be filled. And so I feel like I tried to use this. I love this palette, don't get me wrong, it's beautiful, it's got everything, right? The shimmers are beautiful, the colors are beautiful, like it's got so many cute fucking greens. I mean cute greens. Like look at this one right here, and then like this one right here, and this one right here. I mean, it's got so many, like all the cutest greens. It's just not that inspiring to me, and honestly I feel like the only reason why is because it's green. So it's got everything that you'll ever need. If I need a green look, I am definitely like, this is what I'm reaching for, right? If I'm just going to do something, it's kind of like the Bright Mattes palette, where if I'm going to do a green look, I'm obviously going to reach for this, you know what I mean? The only reason why I haven't decluttered this palette right here is just because I feel like every time I declutter one of the Stack 'em Up palettes, I end up needing it for something, so I just haven't decluttered them since I realized that. And the number 3 spot is the Nomad Wild Atlantic Way, and I'm going to tell you guys right now, this would be going in the number 1 spot, and the reason why is because this is the one that I just got done using, and so it's actually the one that I'm the most excited about. The color story is super cute, and as you guys know, this color story like evokes emotion for me as I'm using it, but when I'm looking at it, the reason why it didn't rank number 1 is because, for one, I know I'm favoring it because it's like the newest in my collection, but also because it doesn't have any mint greens in it, and I am actually like really into mint greens, so if I'm actually going to prefer a green palette, it's going to have mint greens in it. And to tell you the truth, this Money Shop palette only has 1 mint green in it too. See, there's no mint greens in the Money Shot. And quite frankly, there's just a sad excuse for a sage green. So there's only 1 mint green in it, and it's right here. So I'm really partial to mint green. And this is like the sad excuse for a sage green. So it's like there's not like any sage green and there's not any mint green, which is why the Money Shop palette ranked so low. And so honestly, if I'm like looking at a daily user, like it's got to have mint green in it for me to actually like really love it. So the Bog Witch is coming in at number 2, and this again doesn't have any mint green in it, but dude, there's something about this palette that I love so much. And also like it's one of the, like I've used it actually more than once, which I haven't really used. I never used the Earthy palette. I don't think I've used that green Stack 'em Up palette either. I've used the Wild Atlantic Way once, and I've used the Money Shop more than once, obviously, but it's like I say, it's like a go-to palette. If you're gonna do a green look, you go for that palette. So the reason why this one came in number 2 instead of actually a little bit lower is because of this pink glittery, green glittery shade. It's literally like Pete's Dragon. It's so cute. It's my fucking favorite. It's actually my fucking favorite. I love the Bog Witch palette, but honestly, as far as like just being a daily user, like this for me is a mood. Like it has to be like a certain mood, and honestly, like I can't really, if I use this like dingier color right here, it kind of gives me that like dingy, like grungy feeling. So it's a mood, like I say, but dude, because of that pink thing, that pink like glitter flick in that green, that bright lime green, it's like the cutest. And then my number 1 is the Pistachio palette by BH Cosmetics, and I'm gonna tell you why. So for one, it's got the mint greens, right? It's actually, this is like a really cute green combo right here, like this bright green, this limey green with this mint green with this like yellowy green. Those are probably like that's my favorite, right? That's like my favorite combination. But the other reason why this ranked number 1 is because you can't get it. It's like really exclusive and it's really special. And honestly, everybody that has gotten this palette feels super grateful that they got it, but they also feel like they ain't fucking getting rid of it anytime soon. Like even if I don't ever do a green look, if I decluttered, I could probably literally, I could live with decluttering the Money Shot, the Earthy, and the Stack 'em Up, and these are the ones that I definitely would not declutter. So those are my greens, and then my Greenish goes like this. So the lowest on my list is the Gemini palette, and the reason why is because every time I use this palette, I feel like I just look so fucking serious, and it's just, it's boring to me. Like this color story is like a neutral palette. The last time I used this palette, I actually didn't even post it. It was actually, listen, the last time I used this palette, it was for a collab tag that somebody tagged me to do a makeup look, to do a neutral look, because it was like getting outside of your comfort zone and doing a look that you don't really ever do. And so the person who tagged me chose to do a neutral look for me, and so I used this palette to do it, and I disliked it so much that I kind of bowed out of the collab because I didn't like my pictures. I didn't like the way that it looked. So honestly, I don't know what it is about this palette that won't let me get rid of it, because I don't love the Gemini palette. I don't like the way it looks on me. This is another one, the Hella palette by Odin's Eye. It's the collab between Angeshka and Odin's Eye, and I don't know why I can't get rid of this. Like, I told my friend that I would give it to her as soon as I filmed 2 more videos with it, and I just can't seem to film those 2 videos. Like, I can't let it go, and I can't like hold on to it. I don't know why. I don't know why I even still have it. Honestly. So this is number 7, is the Fairy Light palette by Saints Angel Sinners, and it's a collaboration between Sophia Sadie. It's the Leo King's girl, maybe her wife, maybe his baby's mama. I'm not sure, but anyways, this is the color story. I like it a lot. I think this color story is really cute. I feel like I used this and I don't think I got enough. I was talking like really heatedly on a video that I ended up not fucking publishing, and so I basically I don't really know how this palette performs because I was like yammering on, and I feel like I wasn't getting the blend that I wanted because I was pushing too hard. So it felt like it didn't blend as well as I wanted it to, but I think it was probably because of me, because I was like sweating and like really heatedly discussing something. So the next one is the Sirens palette, and the reason why it's coming down a little bit lower is merely because of that pigment thing that I was talking about that time when somebody pointed out to me that they can never seem to get the pigment that they want out of Jolie Beauty, and then I kind of realized it. But dude, I love this palette. I love the theme, and honestly, even though it's only half green, like, I still love it. It's, you know, it came in, I felt like it was a mermaid palette that ranked during a time when mermaid palettes were like abounding. The Recently Deceased palette by Melt Cosmetics. The color story looks like this. It's half and half. So the reason why I picked this, I feel like I can't tell if I picked this high or picked it low. So there's a couple things about this palette. It's not, the actual green part of this doesn't really work for me. For me, this right here is a wasted shade. I got it because I could not get a Melt Beetlejuice collection. I don't regret a fucking thing. The purples are really where this palette shines. And so the greens in this palette are just really okay. Also, I love the theme and I love this palette, and I'm grateful that I got it because it was so exclusive. On the other hand, I feel like this was the last cool release that Melt did. Like, this was the last time I actually was really excited about something that Melt launched. So that's it. So the Whale Song palette, as you guys know, I fucking decluttered this recently. Like, my last declutter, I decluttered this and I was like, I'll never use it. And then I literally was like, I need that back. I cannot fucking declutter that. I love this palette, and even if I didn't love it at the time, even if I thought I wasn't going to use it at the time, I will fucking use it because, dude, this is like such good quality, and it's just such a great palette. I don't know. It was really unique in its time, and the formula still holds true, that it's still a really good fucking formula. Like, you know, I had the Ace Beauté Oceanic palette, and it didn't, the last time I used it, it wasn't as good as it felt like it was the first time I used it, so I decluttered that. But I loved the color story. It was actually more up my alley as far as like, it was more cool tone blues and greens, whereas this is more like grungy blues and greens. But like, I just felt like the last time I used it, it didn't blend the way that I thought it did the last time I'd used it before that. So anyways, I decluttered that because I knew I wasn't going to use it again, but then I decluttered this too, and then I went and got it back and ended up using, also these are, you can pull the pans out. It's magnetic, and so that's the reason why I ended up pulling this back out, is because I did that dupe of the Twilight and ColourPop palette, and so I pulled this out because I needed to use one of the shadows out of this, and I was like, I'm an idiot for decluttering this. I'll never fucking declutter a palette with good quality shadows that also has detachable magnetic pans. Like, fuck that. Number 3 is my Scooby-Doo and Glamlight palette. The color story looks like this, and obviously it's, I mean, as far as the mattes go, it's not, oh wait, no, there's 3 green mattes. 3 of these mattes are green, and then 3 of these shimmers are green. So this is a pretty green palette, and honestly, this is as good as it gets for Glamlight. I'm not a Glamlight expert, but I know I have never not been disappointed by Glamlight since then, since this palette. Okay, number 2 is the Flower Punk palette, and the only reason why this isn't number 1 is because it doesn't have a deep enough deepening shade. The color story looks like this, and it just, everything about this is a fucking treasure. Like, I mean, this is also one of the last times Kaleidos really wowed me. I'm not sure if this came out before or after the Club Nebula, but these two, the Club Nebula and the Flower Punk palette, are basically like, that was the end of Kaleidos for me, except their lip products, you know what I mean? And so I feel like this is such a treasure. The cover is so cute. Just everything about it is like a treasure to me. But it doesn't have a deep enough deepening shade, otherwise it would have been number 1 because I treasure this palette so much. So the top of it was my Arrow inspired palette because, well, for one, because the color story is all green in the mattes. It's totally perfect. Also, some of these shift from pink to green, which you guys know I can't get enough of a pink to green shift. And finally, I mean, the quality of the shimmers are fucking better than any of these shimmers. None of the shimmers in this pile even come close to the shimmers in the Adept Arrow inspired palette. Also, it's a superhero inspired theme. So like, I'm really into superheroes, and so a lot of people are like, they're into gaming and like fantasy and like all that shit, which I'm into fantasy and stuff like that too, but I am really into superheroes. And honestly, I would love it if a brand just came out with a superhero fucking theme brand, because like, I'm all about superheroes. But I mean, I don't know, you may run out eventually, but I'm just saying, like, I fucking am all about superheroes. And so this is like, plus, I mean, the packaging is so fucking tits. Like, everything about this is just baller. So that's all my green and greenish palettes ranked. Let me know what you guys think. If you guys thought this was fun, or if you thought it was boring. I know a lot of you guys love ranking videos. They're hard. It's hard to rank your palettes, especially when everything you have is like the tits. So anyway, don't forget to subscribe to my channel and hit the notification bell, because you can't wait to see what happens next. Hit the like button if you like this video, or if you just like my sparkling personality and my boyish charm, and hang out with me in the comments because I fucking love it. If you got like halfway through this video and you were like, oh my god, she's so pretty till she opens her big fucking mouth, then go check her out on Instagram. I don't talk as much on Instagram. And if you're like, don't sugarcoat it, Katie, why don't you tell us how you really feel, then go check out my Patreon, because I don't hold anything back on my Patreon. Thank you guys so much for watching. You could have been anywhere, but you were here wasting your time with me, and I totally appreciate you. Later.